Welcome back to Good Moral Tactical. So today we're going to be talking about one of the new hollow point offerings on the market from Velocitas, the VX9. Stick with us and let's talk about it. Okay, so we're here to talk about one of the new premier self-defense ammo cartridges on the market, the new Velocitas VX9. So if you don't know what the VX9, or if you haven't heard about it yet, this is a new hollow point offering on the market from a company called Velocitas, based out of Texas. What makes this cartridge so much different than a lot of the other offerings on the market is that this is actually made out of a copper projectile instead of it being lead. Now, why would we want to use copper instead of lead is something that I don't think a lot of people have even really considered. So with copper, it is a much stronger, lighter material than lead. So whenever it has the cuts and it actually hits into whatever its target is and it begins to expand, because of the properties of the copper, it will expand and spiral out like a normal hollow point would do, but these do not fragment the way that lead does. With lead offerings, generally what you'll see is these are rose petal cuts, or with 6 Hour they call it a V crown, because of the material that lead has. When it begins to expand, if it is not cut in a certain way, as it expands, things will just fragment. So they have to put these deep cuts in here so that it expands in a more controlled method than what you're typically going to see with copper. Now, one of the other differences that you're going to see between these two cartridges is the weight. Now, this is just some off-the-shelf offerings that I got. Is like 124 grain for my lead ammunition that we used in the testing, and then with Velocitas it is 96 grains. So it is a much lighter cartridge than what you're going to typically see with self-defense ammo. There's a few other companies that offer a light grain like that. So you'll see ultralight is the name in a majority of those. And those are generally plus P to give you some extra power. This one is not plus P, it is just 96 grains. Regular volumetric pressure that you're going to see out of a 9mm cartridge. However, that does not affect the velocity whatsoever. So what we did for the testing of this is we put on a Mantis system on our rail, took it out to the range, and we tested the different recoil that we saw between these two different cartridges. How much are we going to see in the muzzle rise between the lead offering and a copper offering? So let's move to those videos and show you the difference of what we saw, and we'll go ahead and read off the data as well. So first off, what we're going to start with is going to be our Hellcat Pro. Now the Hellcat Pro is a subcompact frame, so this is only a 3.5 inch barrel. Now with the 124 grain hollow point, the muzzle rise was an average of 23.62 degrees. With our 98 grain from Velocitas, the average was 14.17 degrees. So that is a significant change of close to 7 degrees for your muzzle rise. Now we also used the G19 clone that we have used on this channel for a while. Now this one is a little bit different because of where it has just the tip barrel from Aim Surplus. So it has what they consider their built-in compensator on here. So this actually got a little bit more help from the 124 grain. With the 124 grain, our average muzzle rise was 9.48 degrees. Or 96 grain. Velocitas, it was an average of 10.2 degrees. If we move on to the Echelon full size, so that would be their 4.5 inch barrel. That offering with 124 had a muzzle rise average of 17.22 degrees. However, the Echelon had a 10.83 degrees average when we used our Velocitas ammunition. And finally, I wanted to go with a competition or full size offering at 5-inch barrel. So we used our Canik steel frame, and with 124 grain, the average muzzle rise was 17 degrees flat. With our Velocitas, the muzzle rise was a 15.95 degrees. So very modest on the steel frame and the longer barrel. It didn't really show as much of a difference in the longer barrels because of where you're getting so much of your extra velocity from that longer barrel as it's twisting compared to what you would see in some of these shorter ones. I think where you're really going to see the big difference with this grainage is going to be those shorter barrel options like the Hellcat Pro, where it is a 3.5 inch, because of the velocity that you're getting from a lighter grain. It reached up to about 1,300 feet per second versus the 124. You're getting roughly 1,096, so we'll round up and say 1,100 feet per second. So that's 200 extra feet per second just because of the lighter grainage giving you a little bit more velocity. So you're going to see a big difference in these shorter barrels. You're going to see it in something like a 4-inch from the Glock 19 when it's not compensated and not ported, because when you put in any kind of porting or compensation on a firearm barrel, you're going to lose velocity, maybe 5%, maybe 10% of that velocity with those things. So you have to keep that in mind whenever you're testing this ammunition. But when it comes to muzzle rise, we can already see the data is trending to a much lower muzzle rise average on all 4 of these firearms that we tested it on. Everything expanded and hit the target exactly the way that we wanted to. There were no issues with anything. We didn't have any light primer strikes. We didn't have any squib loads. Everything came out exactly the way that you would want from your concealed carry ammo, with no issues whatsoever during this testing. So that was really, really good. Now, when it comes to pricing, this is priced very good for the market. On average, you're going to see boxes of 20 to 25 rounds go anywhere from $30 to $40, depending on the brand and speciality of it. With their 20 round box, it is running roughly around $30 MSRP, and the 50 round box is actually running at $75 for a box. Now, this is all loaded. You can also buy just the projectile if you would like to load your own ammunition, which is really nice. I haven't seen a lot of companies put out their own projectile when it comes to the hollow points of the specialties. So that is really nice to see them offer that on their website, of being able to buy just the projectile for your own loading needs. And so if you wanted to go down that route, for a pack of 50, it's about $55. Not a bad price for a premier self-defense ammo. Now, this has become my ammo of choice for concealed carrying, just because of the higher velocity to go on a smaller frame that I'm having to wear because of weather permits is a very nice benefit. The other benefit is because of the grain being 96, this is a much lighter round. So the full magazine is much lighter compared to a regular lead-based projectile option that you would have for self-defense. And let's just be honest, when you're carrying inside the waistband, or if you're doing off the body on a bag, the lighter you can get your firearm so that it's not pulling your belt down or pulling the strap into your body is the most beneficial part of having a firearm on you. The lighter that you can possibly go and still be productive in self-defense scenarios. And I think this ammo gave me the perfect blend of what I'm looking for when it comes to expansion, velocity and also weight management of my firearm for concealed carry. And for that reason, it has become my concealed carry ammo of choice at this time. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. Is this an ammunition company that you would like to try out for yourself for your own concealed carry needs? Or have you already tried them out and have different thoughts? Go ahead and put it in the comments from us. We'd love to hear from you. Until then, thanks for tuning in with us.